Carnaby Street whispers, fashion, music, and glowing lights. The evening mist drapes itself over London, soft and familiar, as street lamps glow like amber jewels in the gentle fog. Perhaps you remember those nights, the way the damp air carried the distant rumble of a passing bus, or the faint echoing cry of a newspaper boy rounding a corner, all folding together into a lullaby of the city preparing for slumber. Welcome, dear friend, to Back in the Day, the vintage stories, where we often find ourselves drifting back to those very moments, those vivid chapters of our lives. Tonight, our gentle wander through memory lanes takes us directly to the vibrant, pulsing heart of London's style and spirit, a place that seemed to hum with an electric energy all its own. This was where hemlines grew daringly shorter, where colors exploded in dazzling new combinations that caught the eye like sparks, and where the very air thrummed with the latest pop music spilling out onto the pavements from every doorway. Tonight, with a quiet fondness, we return to Carnaby Street, the undeniable, exhilarating beating heart of fashion in those truly unforgettable swinging 60s, a time when anything felt possible, and the world seemed to be turning on a new, exhilarating axis. Carnaby Street, you see, was never merely a stretch of cobblestone road. It was, in its very essence, a revolution beautifully wrapped up in bricks and mortar, a place where the world truly began to shift on its axis. If you cast your mind back to the early 1960s, you might recall how this rather unassuming lane, tucked away just off Regent Street, began to transform, almost magically, from a relatively quiet corner of London into what would very swiftly become the most famous, most talked about shopping street in the entire world. It was here, within those vibrant storefronts and bustling pavements, that young designers, brimming with fresh ideas and an audacious spirit, found their voice. Here, daring new trends were not just born, but celebrated with an almost feverish excitement. And here, bold, audacious dreams took flight, carried on the very breeze that swept through its narrow passages. Imagine, if you will, the delightful clash and convergence of styles, the revolutionary boldness of the miniskirt, defying convention with every swing, meeting the sharp, impeccably tailored suit, a nod to tradition yet worn with a modern swagger, all showcased side by side. The shop windows along Carnaby Street were no mere displays of merchandise. They were in truth dynamic, ever-changing galleries of youth culture, each pane of glass reflecting the hopeful, vibrant face of a generation that was truly coming into its own. To stroll along Carnaby Street in those days was not just to go shopping. It was to step directly into the pulsing rhythm of change itself, to feel the unmistakable, exhilarating pulse of a generation that was daring to live life quite differently, with a freedom and a flourish that had simply never been seen before. Our journey into Carnaby Street's vibrant embrace often begins with the quiet promise of morning. You can almost picture it, can't you? The early light just beginning to filter through the London sky as shopkeepers with a gentle creak of hinges roll up their heavy metal shutters, their hands perhaps dusted with fine fabric threads from yesterday's creations, or even the faint scent of fresh paint from a late-night touch-up. Already, the air begins to awaken with a symphony of delightful aromas. The rich, earthy smell of newly crafted leather shoes still in their boxes mingles tantalizingly with the delicate sweetness of a sophisticated perfume wafting softly from a nearby boutique, promising elegance and allure. In the windows, perfectly poised mannequins, perhaps sporting daring geometric prints or impossibly bright block colors, stand with a silent, confident pride, their unblinking gazes seeming to invite every passerby to pause, to lean in just a little closer, and perhaps to share a knowing smile at the sheer audacity of the new styles. And then the sounds begin to truly fill the narrow street. The familiar, rhythmic clatter of delivery vans pulling up, their engines rumbling softly as crates brimming with the latest vinyl records, the very soundtracks of a generation. and heavy bolts of richly patterned cloth are carefully, excitedly unloaded onto the pavement. Even at this early hour, before the crowds truly descend, the air is already alive, buzzing with a palpable sense of promise, a quiet hum of expectation. As the sun begins its slow climb, casting longer shadows and then brighter light, Carnaby Street truly starts to hum, like a tuning fork struck just right. If you were to close your eyes, take a slow, deliberate breath, you could almost feel the warmth of the rising sun on your face, and surely catch the comforting, familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee drifting gently from a little corner cafe, beckoning you in for a moment of peace before the delightful chaos of the day truly begins. By the time midday casts its brighter light upon the narrow lanes, Carnaby Street truly bursts forth, alive with a kaleidoscope of color and sound that seem to dance in the very air. You would see them then, wouldn't you? Girls, their perfectly bobbed haircuts swinging just so with every confident step, emerging from the vibrant shops in dazzling white patent boots, perhaps a new purchase, their laughter bubbling up like champagne as the daring hem of a brand new miniskirt playfully caught the breeze, hinting at liberation and joy. Nearby, boys, effortlessly cool and full of a youthful swagger, would lean casually against ornate lampposts, their figures silhouetted against the bustling backdrop, their suits sharply cut and impeccably styled, ties narrow and fashionably slim, their smiles wide and infectious, reflecting the vibrant energy all around them. From every open doorway, a cascade of sound would spill onto the pavement, an irresistible invitation to a new world. The raw energy of the Kinks, the defiant roar of the Who, the soulful rhythm of the Small Faces. All of them, it seemed, vying playfully for your attention, their melodies weaving together into a joyous tapestry over the lively chatter and excited murmurs of the ever-growing crowd. Perhaps, on a quiet corner, you might even spot a lone painter, his easel carefully set up, brush poised, attempting to capture the swirling, effervescent life around him, the dynamic movement of fashion and spirit that flowed ceaselessly. For a precious moment, you might simply pause, perhaps just off to the side, allowing the sheer, exhilarating rhythm of it all to sink deep within you, like the unforgettable melody of a favorite song you know so utterly by heart. A tune that always carries you back to a time of boundless possibility and youthful exuberance. As the vibrant energy of midday gently drifted into the longer shadows of afternoon, Carnaby Street seemed to transform once more, its bustling boutiques becoming less like mere shops and more like captivating stages, each one presenting its own unique act of style and daring. Step inside Lord John, if you would, and feel the immediate shift in atmosphere. The walls inside glowed with incredibly bold, often psychedelic patterns, wrapping you in a kaleidoscope of color, while the mirrored ceilings above, catching every angle, reflected an endless, shimmering tableau of innovative fashion, making you feel as though you were truly part of a living, breathing art installation. Just a little further along, a different kind of magic awaited at I Was Lord Kitchener's Valet, a treasure trove for the truly adventurous, where you might find yourself mesmerized by the sight of bespoke Union Jack jackets, hanging alongside authentically distressed military coats, each piece beckoning you to embrace a bolder, more individualistic expression. And if you looked closely, or perhaps listened carefully, you might even discern a faint rhythmic hum from the tiny attics perched above these very shops. Here, in these quiet, often cramped spaces, dedicated young designers would bend over their sewing machines, their needles flying, working late into the evening, fueled by countless cups of tea and an unyielding passion, dreaming, always dreaming, of the very next trend that would set the world alight. As you wandered, perhaps your fingers would instinctively reach out, brushing against the luxurious softness of a velvet sleeve, or feeling the cool, smooth whisper of a silk scarf. And in that simple touch, each garment seemed to carry a story a silent testament to a generation that was dressing not merely to cover themselves, not simply for warmth or modesty, but with an exhilarating sense of purpose, to boldly declare with every fiber and stitch precisely who they were and what they stood for in that remarkable era of change. Then, as the generous afternoon sun began its slow, inevitable journey towards the horizon, dipping below the rooftops of London, Carnaby Street would shed its daytime skin and change its vibrant face once more. This was when the magic truly began to shimmer into view. One by one, with a soft, almost theatrical pop, the dazzling neon signs that adorned every shopfront and doorway would flicker to life, bathing the still damp cobblestones below in an ethereal glow of pinks and blues and electric greens, casting long, playful shadows that danced with every passing figure. The crowds, which had been lively all day, seemed to thicken now, swelling with an eager energy, and the music, which had been a constant hum, grew undeniably louder, spilling with an intoxicating abandon from every open window and door, echoing against the brickwork. It was clear, without a single word needing to be spoken, that the night belonged entirely to the exuberance of youth. You would hear it then, wouldn't you? The unrestrained, joyful laughter bubbling up and spilling out from a crowded pub, mingling with the cheerful clink of glasses as friends toasted the evening, and perhaps carried on the cool evening air, the clear, clean strum of a lone guitar played by someone lost in the moment. Somewhere, just beneath your feet, in a cozy basement club, a young, as yet unknown band would be playing, their sound raw and exhilaratingly electric, each note vibrating, echoing against the low ceiling, filling the space with a palpable excitement. And there in the glow, people would be dancing, shoulder to shoulder, a joyful throng of bodies moving as one, lost completely in the sheer unburdened joy of the moment, their faces alight with freedom. The entire street, from one end to the other, truly felt like an impromptu, endless festival, a vibrant celebration of life itself under the shimmering London night. Yet, even amidst that vibrant, exhilarating roar of sound and light, if you were to wander just a few steps away from the very heart of Carnaby's bustling main thoroughfare, you might discover, as many did, that there existed quiet corners, little pockets of serene refuge where the world seemed to hold its breath for a moment. Imagine, for instance, stepping off the lively pavement and into a small, unassuming tea room, tucked away so discreetly just behind the main street, almost as if it were a secret. Inside, the air would be instantly softer, calmer, filled with the comforting sight of gentle steam rising gracefully from delicate china cups, carrying with it the warm, distinctive scent of Earl Grey tea, or perhaps a comforting Ceylon, a truly soothing balm for the senses. You might observe a young woman, her brow slightly furrowed in concentration, yet with a spark of excitement in her eyes, as she slowly, thoughtfully, leafs through the glossy pages of a cutting-edge fashion magazine, its pages still crisp with newness. Beside her, her friend, perhaps with a stray pencil mark on her cheek, would be diligently sketching intricate, bold designs on a crumpled paper napkin, her dreams taking shape right there on the tabletop. Their voices, though low and murmuring, would carry a soft, hopeful cadence, weaving intricate plans for a future that felt bright and full of possibility. Perhaps of their own boutique, or a collection that would one day grace these very streets. Outside, the city roared on, a vibrant symphony of music, laughter, and endless movement. But here, within the comforting embrace of the tea room, time itself seemed to slow, to expand, offering a precious moment of stillness. You would feel the gentle warmth of the tea seep into your hands, a quiet comfort, and in that simple act, you could truly breathe. Feeling a profound sense of calm settle within you, a peaceful haven amidst the joyful, glorious storm of the swinging 60s. Then, as the night deepened and the hour drew closer to midnight, Carnaby Street began to settle into a different kind of beauty, glowing softly, almost ethereally, like a cherished dream still lingering in the quiet hours. The boisterous crowds, which had surged and swelled with such youthful energy just hours before, would have thinned considerably by now, leaving behind a more intimate, hushed atmosphere. Yet still, if you listen closely, you could discern the faint, persistent hum of music, a melody from a distant record shop, perhaps, or a lingering tune from a quiet pub doorway, a gentle echo of the day's vibrancy. Imagine, if you will, seeing a young boy and girl, perhaps arm in arm or their hands intertwined, strolling leisurely down the now quieter street, their figures bathed in the soft amber glow of a solitary lamppost, under which they might pause for a moment, sharing a secret smile. Their hushed laughter, light and clear, would then echo gently through the cool, crisp night air, a sweet sound in the stillness. The large, inviting shop windows, still adorned with their daring mannequins dressed in bold, futuristic prints, now reflected their passing silhouettes, a fleeting mingling of life and art, of presence and memory. The street was undeniably quieter now, a gentle murmur where once there had been a roar, but the essential heartbeat of Carnaby, that vibrant, pioneering spirit, remained, steady and undeniably alive beneath the fading neon. You might find yourself in that moment simply closing your eyes for a brief, reflective second, allowing the cool night air to touch your face, listening to the soft sounds that remained, and in that gentle quietude you would realize, with a comforting certainty, that the spirit of the 60s was not truly gone, but was still very much here, woven into the very fabric of London, waiting patiently to be remembered and cherished. Carnaby Street, you see, was never merely a collection of shops or a fashionable address. It was something far deeper, far more resonant. It was the very spirit of freedom, beautifully, defiantly stitched into every vibrant fabric, every daring design. It was the exhilaration of music, raw and revolutionary, pressed forever into the grooves of countless vinyl records, ready to be unleashed into the world. And it was the uninhibited, bubbling laughter of a generation, echoing and written as if by magic onto the ancient cobblestones of that narrow, unassuming London road. To walk its length in those remarkable days was not simply to browse or to shop. It was to truly believe in boundless possibility, to feel deep within your own heart the undeniable courage of a generation that dared, perhaps for the very first time, to be fully, authentically seen, to express themselves without apology. And tonight, dear friend, as the mist settles once more over London, you have walked it again, gently, slowly, with the soft, comforting glow of memory lighting your way through its storied lanes. Thank you for joining me, for sharing this quiet moment of reflection on back in the day, the vintage stories. If this journey through the past, this gentle wander down Carnaby Street has brought a quiet smile to your lips, or perhaps a warm sigh of cherished memory, I invite you very kindly to consider liking this story, perhaps sharing it with someone who might also find joy in these memories, subscribing to our channel, so that we may continue wandering together, hand in hand, through the enchanting, unforgettable nights of yesterday, always finding new tales to tell. Next time, dear friend, we will gently leave the charming bustle and vibrant energy of Carnaby Street behind us, stepping away from its kaleidoscope of fashion, and instead we shall venture deeper into the heart of London's bohemian soul. Our journey will take us into the smoky, atmospheric music halls and the tucked-away intimate clubs of Soho, a place where it was often said the night truly never seemed to end, and where the rich, soulful sound of jazz mingled effortlessly with the raw, exhilarating beat of rock and roll, echoing long and beautifully into the quiet early hours of dawn. Join me then for another wander into the past, where the melodies linger and the stories await.